I guess the first question, Mr. Oliver, is where have you been?
I've been here in my riding, with the exception of the time I spent in Turkey attending the G20 and G7 meetings. I'm out canvassing. This is a hotly contested riding, and my first responsibility is, of course, to my constituents. However, I have given quite a number of interviews, and I'm happy, of course, to chat with you now.
You know, there's a hashtag going around that says, "Where's Joe?" Right? Because everybody's wondering where the finance minister is at this time of economic news.
Well, I've issued statements. As I said, I've had quite a number of interviews on the election here in Eglinton Lawrence and on the economy generally. And when people arrive here in the riding, I'm happy to talk to them, as you have.
Okay, so let's get to the news this week.
Sure.
We've had a lot of economic news. Actually in the last 2 weeks, you've seen that we were in a technical recession, then we have a surplus, and then you talk, and then more of a surplus. I also want to know, why haven't you been out there talking about it? Even yesterday and today now. Jason Kenney is out, but you're the finance minister. Why aren't you the one talking and giving these talks?
Well, I've issued a statement about the surplus, and I think we're focusing a little bit too much on process here. I mean, the point is we have a surplus. It's a $1.9 billion surplus last year, which is a remarkable and important achievement. We've got $5 billion already locked in for the first quarter, so we're going to have another surplus. That'll be 2 balanced budgets in a row. And if you contrast that with what the Liberals are proposing, which is up to $30 billion in deficits every year, massive debt, which will weaken the economy and will adversely affect Canadians from coast to coast. I mean, we need a plan, our plan, a low-tax plan for jobs and growth, which will protect the economy. When I was in Ankara, Turkey, at the G20 meetings, one thing was very clear, and that is that if a lot of countries had followed our plan for low taxes and growth and a balanced budget, we wouldn't be seeing so many of them in financial difficulty. But the external environment is turbulent. There's serial disappointment in terms of economic growth. China is down, and that's really significant because it's the second largest economy in the world. We've seen the crisis in Greece. We're aware of the geopolitical issues. So these externalities, including the collapse in the price of oil, are things that we have to contend with. We have to keep our economy strong and protect Canadians. And that's what our plan is doing, and that's what I'm sure the Prime Minister will be talking about this evening at the debate. What we have in contrast is a Liberal Party that is proposing huge deficits every year, long-term, permanent deficits that are going to drag down, weaken the economy, and make life less affordable for Canadians.
I'm not going to belabor the point. I'm just going to ask you this one more time. You obviously have, it's abundantly clear, your intimate knowledge of the economy and finance. That's why you're finance minister. So why is it that the defense minister is out speaking about other people's plans and all this week, yesterday, today, instead of you?
Well, Jason Kenney is out there because he is in a pretty secure riding. He has a lot more time, and he can devote that to helping his colleagues around the country and sending the message. But I'm also talking about, look, before the election started, I've done dozens and dozens of fundraisers for my colleagues right throughout the GTA, for which I have political responsibility for, and really right across the country. And I've spoken on economic issues, and I'll continue to speak on economic issues. But during the election, in a hotly contested election here in Eglinton Lawrence, I've got to spend a fair amount of my time here. One of my competitors from the NDP has been out every day boasting, I should say, about how he's balanced the budget and we haven't. Actually, the reverse is true. The Auditor General of Saskatchewan said that during the 2 years when he was finance minister, he actually ran a budgetary deficit. Well, they've got two sets of books, and the set of books that is the real set of books that the auditor looked at showed that that's what the situation is. In contrast, we balanced the books last year. We're going to balance the books again this year. So I'm focusing on economic issues, but I'm also focusing on the campaign.
Tell me about the campaign here. How important is it, not only to you personally, but to the Conservative Party, because this is really the foothold in the Toronto area, in the GTA, for the Conservatives. How important is it, not only for you to hold on to your seat, but for the party to hold on to this seat?
Well, it of course is important. Every seat is important. We want to have a majority.
But the GTA is more important. Let's
I'm not going to. It's more important to me. But you know, every seat counts, and every elector counts. But this is important. We didn't have any Conservative representation for 23 years. We had a major breakthrough. We won more seats than any other party in the 416 in the heart of Toronto, and we're determined to keep those seats and actually win more. So that's why I'm here to reiterate my answer to your repeated question. That's why we're here, and frankly, I'm getting a very strong positive response at the door, and I'm very pleased about that.
But obviously, the fact that you're so focused on it means that it's still in play, that it's not a done deal here, that you still think it's a very tough battle.
I do not take the voters of Eglinton Lawrence for granted. I would never do that.
No, nobody does, but there are, like you said, Jason Kenney's writings maybe a little safer, would you admit, than yours?
Well, yes, I would certainly say that, and again, that's one of the reasons he has a little more time than I do.
So it's not something like, they have said to you, you know what, we don't need you to avoid the media. They haven't said don't talk to the media to you.
No, I'm talking to you, and every time every time when I'm not going to mention other networks, but when I've talked to other people, they said, well, you're not talking, but I'm talking to them as well. I mean, I've had a lot of interviews. When people have arrived here at my campaign office, I speak to them, unless I'm out canvassing, of course.
Simple as that.
Simple as that.
So we should have just come the first day.
If you had, you would have had to jostle for space, because there was another network there who I spoke to at the time.
Right, okay. And maybe just in closing, I mean, is it abundantly clear for you what the choice is in this campaign? That, first of all, the economy is and has been the center of this campaign.
Right.
Is it frustrating at all for you to stand on the sidelines and say, man, I wish I could really be more of a national voice and say and draw it out as clearly as you have to me already?
I've had an opportunity to do that, and I'm going to continue to. There's time before October 19, and I'm going to be available to talk to the press. But as I say, my focus is, of course, on my writing. You're absolutely right. Pocketbook issues are at the core of this election. That's why today's debate is important. That's why the Prime Minister will be talking about our balanced budget, low tax plan for jobs and growth, and we'll see what the Liberals have to say about what I think is a disastrous plan, which will weaken the economy and jeopardize our secure future. I think this is really an election. Every election is important, but this one, the differences are really stark. They're stark in terms of the economy, they're stark in terms of leadership, they're stark in terms of security.
Last question for you. You said that the Liberal plan is dangerous because they're spending and overspending, and they say it's to stimulate. I have a feeling I know what you're going to say, but 2008, that's what you guys did.
Well, we confronted the biggest recession since the Great Depression. We wanted to save hundreds of thousands of jobs. We wanted to save entire industries, like the automotive industry.
So we're not there yet, right now.
We're not there at all. In fact, we're in a period of growth. And in a period of growth, but one which is confronting global instability and turbulence, this is precisely the wrong time to turn our backs on our tremendous accomplishment of creating a balanced budget. That's why we introduced balanced budget legislation. Having a balanced budget means you have more money for social programs, more money to reduce taxes, less money to pay for interest. You're in a stronger financial position. You can protect your AAA credit rating, which we have with a stable outlook. you're able to withstand international shocks, and on the moral issue, you don't pass on your debt to your children and your grandchildren. No family would want to do that. No country should.